My name's Adam Monaco and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
Hello and welcome to the spectacular Newcastle Foreshore for the 2016 Newcastle City Supermoto, and Cam Williams joining me in commentary. Cam, first of all, welcome to the Newcastle Foreshore, and what a spectacular day it is here.
Fantastic venue, isn't it? Amazing place here in Newcastle. Some folks out there on their kites, some out in their boats. We prefer the stuff that's going a little bit harder, a little bit faster with the Supermoto. Very, very exciting weekend coming our way.
Yeah, lots coming up on today's show. We've got the Open category, we've got the Pro category, but first up, it's the combined veterans and women's. With a wealth of experience across all types of two-wheel racing, Hunter local Phil Lovett is relishing the opportunity to hop back on the bike after a short stint away from racing.
Well, I've sort of been racing for 40 odd years, 42 years, 43 years. I lost count on that one, but so I've sort of done all facets of racing. Sort of started off with motocross and then went into enduros. I did an international 6 days. I won 3 gold medals there and some other silver and a bronze, I think it was. Sort of desert racing, Alice Springs, Fink Desert Race, that sort of thing. I won it 3 times and second number of times. Since then in the early 2000s, I got into motard and did that for a few years, and then that led me to superbike racing. And I've done a bit of everything. I missed out on this last year. I sort of come back from Fink last year. We rode out and rode back, and so this was on a bit earlier last year, so I missed coming down. I like doing a bit of motard. I haven't really ridden dirt bikes for 12 months, and after the weekend it'll have come back, and then it'll go again. The bike's going good. The ride is not so good, but the suspension and everything's working pretty good. Haven't touched anything yesterday. We had some gearing changes this morning. See if it makes it a little bit better for me. But just here for fun and such a great event here at the Supermoto, Newcastle Supermoto event. And Newcastle's not quite my backyard, but it's only half an hour away. It's really good to see that Graham Boyd and the Watson brothers can bring this thing to Newcastle, and it's good to be on a street circuit. I know it's not the ideal supermotard race, but they've done a really, really good job of getting it here, and here, from what I hear, another 2 or 3 years, and it brings the crowd out. When people do things for nothing, it makes a really good spectacle and gets everybody on board. It's a shame some of the other promoters of Australian road racing or motocross don't do something similar, which would get a lot more people to watch our sport sort of thing.
Also competing in the combined veterans and women's category, Jess BOUJOS explains the ins and outs of this unique track situated on the Newcastle Foreshore.
Turn 1 onto the dirt is everybody all trying to get in there at once, so it gets pretty hairy, and then you've got a nice little roller and then a tabletop, which is a nice easy tabletop, which puts you over a double. The double, I think they've just calmed it down a little bit today because the double was kicking pretty high yesterday. and it drops you into quite a tight braking zone to take a right-hand berm. The berm is great, but then it flip-flops really tight, so you've got to really, really drop your speed down to get through there. And then you've got a series of about, I think, 7 rollers, and they're not whoops, so you can't sort of back wheel them. Yeah, so for me, not being a motocross racer, I'm just sort of closing my eyes basically and hoping for the best. So, and then you come out of those, a little bit of a kink, and then back onto the bitumen, which is obviously covered in dirt at that stage. So it's really slippery, and you've got to remember that you can't just squeeze it on, you can't twist it on, because your rear wheel is just still covered in dirt and it's all up the track. So that's where a few people went yesterday, including my unfortunate husband. And then you go off onto the road section, which is really quite stop-start. It's not like a road racing circuit, so for me, where my background is road racing, I don't really get to bust out my road racing skills. It's more horsepower sort of track, so I'm just getting my head around that as well. I'm on a new bike, a 450. I'm normally on a 250, so the 450 is fantastic, love it, but it's just providing a few little extra challenges for me to deal with.
Well, I'm sure those challenges won't slow Jessica down at all as we look now and get ready for the first of our races on today's Sunday program. Race number 2, in fact, for the combined veterans and women's category. They had one race yesterday. Paul KASLICK was the star, and he's going to come out all guns blazing in today as this massive crowd cam gets ready for some sensational action to get underway.
Yeah, some 40-odd thousand people Graham Boyd and his team have packed in here for this Newcastle Supermoto. Very, very exciting as we get the jump to the outside. KASLICK got a good one, but Rob Jones got an even better one, and it was him that's got away with the whole shot, and there was a little bit of tangling going on here through the start. About a majority of the field got off very well, but Jessica BOUJOS looks like a little bit of whiskey throttle, and she got all sorts of out of shape and ended up on the ground at the end of the first straight. So tough start for her to start that race there, Phil.
Yeah, and also too, as they come through that dirt section for the first time, very, very crowded down through that right-hand hairpin in the middle of the dirt section. A couple of people shaking their heads there, not happy with their first attempt as they come round. But the good news is that Jessica BOUJOS got the number 1 machine up and going. She's a tough lady, and she's off on her destination to try and catch up the rest of the field.
Yeah, she's given them a decent-sized head start, Jessica, but we know that she can ride Supermoto, obviously riding with that number 1. A little bit of a tough one there for Steve Kopic as well. It looks like he might have stalled out. But the race in race 2 was very much about these two, Rob Jones and Paul KASLICK. Very different, I should say, in terms of their machinery. With Paul KASLICK's bike, they're definitely not a stock bike, and we're looking at Rob Jones on a stock bike. And you see them as they get out of the corner here, the way that KASLICK just gets this thing lit up down the straight. He's a bit of a smaller guy, but the horsepower definitely showing there in KASLICK. Really making it count at the moment, and Rob Jones, you'll see he carries a little bit better corner speed through there, but KASLICK being a little bit of a slighter build, gets a really good drive down these straights, and it's continuing on. You can see him get tangled up here with the 126 a little bit later on. He's done very well here, hasn't he, Paul KASLICK? Oh, there it was there, the 126 of Brian Little.
Here comes through to take the checkered flag and the victory in race number 2. Brian Little, unfortunately, the last man to get lapped. The good news is that Jessica BOUJOS still going and made it to the flag, but KASLICK takes the win from Rob Jones, Jeff Dray, Gary Cash and Darren Webb rounds out the top 5.
Lara Cloak, the first of the women, through in 10th place, currently leading the Victorian 250 Championship as we flip over onto the second page. Steve Kopic, then Karina Bailey. Rounding out the whole deal is Stephanie James with Jessica BOUJOS. She worked her way back into 18th, so she's got a tough starting position for the next race.
Yeah, we'll start a little bit further back on the grid than she would have liked. We're getting ready for race number 3 now for the combined veterans and women's category. Excitement's building. This crowd is very, very keen to get this race underway as we jump on board with the master of the two-wheel drift, Paul KASLICK. Red flag at the front of the grid cam. We're just about to get underway. KASLICK will be looking for another good start and trying to stay out of the hectic action as they tip down into the dirt section for the first time, and he's got an absolute flyer.
Got the greatest line in there, didn't he? He managed to get across and cut the line off Rob Jones. He locks himself into second place there. We'll get these guys all the way through, and looks like we're going to get through in one piece there, but KASLICK it is who's going to lead them into this 396-metre dirt section to start it off first. There is KASLICK now, and Rob Jones locked and loaded in second. Rob Jones knows this dirt section intimately well. He spent a lot of time out here working with Barry Reid to develop and build this section, so say as racing goes on, what he's put here is going to change dramatically, but in terms of knowledge overall there, Rob Jones, it looks like he's got some good corner entry and exit speed. as well as some good dirt skills. And he and Paul CASLICK, they're going to make this one a very, very interesting one. And there they are, already starting to separate themselves from Jeff Dray.
Yeah, Jeff Dray got a fantastic start. There goes the legend Phil Lovett on board bike number 301. Expect him to put in some good performances in his return to racing. He's had a few months off, but as always, very, very keen. If there's a motorcycle to ride, Phil Lovett's more than keen to jump on board. As we jump on board with the man from Kurri now, as he comes down through the chicane and into the final couple of corners before they head back into the dirt section. But CASLICK's opened up a couple of bike length lead over Rob Jones, who this weekend riding a Supermoto, but he's been doing a lot of riding lately, but even in movies.
Yeah, he rides in movies, and what we can understand, I should say, is that he's done quite a bit of stunt work, filling in for Hugh Jackman, working with Stephen Gore and the guys on Mad Max. So he knows his way around a two-wheeled machine, does Rob Jones, and he's showing it to us right now on that KTM. Super, super impressive to see Phil Lovett out here as well. Something tells me he might have a rough idea on how to set up a motorcycle, Phil.
Yeah, he's pretty handy as we jump on board with Brad TRIVETT and go down through the chicane back into the car park area. This is a great battle between Darren Webb on board bike number 5 and TRIVETT, and here comes Phil Lovett up on bike number 301. He's not too far behind. They start tripping each other up, Cam, and Phil Lovett will be back into the action.
Any chance he gets to sniff Phil Lovett, we know he's going to drive that in there. We're going to pick up the Newcastle Now replay, and you can see CASLICK just got a really, really good, clean drive. No wheel spin off the line, modulated that clutch to perfection and got the jump. On board with Jessica BOUJOS now. And she's very, very deep in this package. Good passing manoeuvre. Oh, and unfortunately for Jessica, she's staring at that Newcastle bitumen once again. Tough weekend so far.
Yep.
Let's have a listen to this one.
Okay, just going to pick the bike up now.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay.
You guys look right? Yep.
Yeah, we're right.
Sorry, guys.
You're all right,
You
Jess.
okay?
Wait, yeah.
I'm good to race, yeah. I'm good to race.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'll tell you what, Cam, that is one tough lady. Had a bit of an accident in the first corner there, as you saw. Once they picked the bike up off her, she was ready to go again, but also very concerned about her fellow competitors. Certainly, she's not a soccer player, is she?
No, not a soccer player whatsoever, and you really can't be in this sort of field. What I do really like to see there as well is the guys from Suzuki Race Safe, very close in attendance in that start line, making sure all these guys are super well and healthy before they go racing again. Interesting to note, she said, "I'm right to race." As quick as she could say that, the finger was on the start button and she was gone.
Yeah, this is a great battle between Gary Cash and Jeff Dray. Dray, who got that great start on board bike number 560. And looking at his rims, he hasn't got the traditional Supermoto smaller 17-inch rims. Looking like he might even have 18s on that machine as he comes down now into the dirt section. With you can clearly see wet weather tyres both front and rear.
Yeah, the good part about this form of racing, and you can see him now as he gets to the inside there and just shows a bit of a wheel, you really don't need to show up on something totally specialised in order to do this, and we're seeing it with Dray now at what looks like a reasonably standard motocross bike, and as you said, oversized wheels, probably going to be a little bit less grip when he goes to back that thing into corners, but he's doing a solid job right now, Jeff Dray.
Yeah, Jessica BOUJOS letting these riders through. She is the reigning Australian Women's Supermoto champion. Knows a thing or two about riding these bikes as we jump on board with her now and through the chicane, down to the bottom end of the circuit, through this very tight right-hand hairpin and out onto the long straight that goes along the Newcastle Foreshore. This is the battle that we're looking at, though, between these two for third and fourth position.
You can see that bike of Jeff Dray really is moving around under him, probably a little bit more as we now pick up again with Rob Jones. Has mastered this dirt section. So the only person I've seen get through here as well would be Luke George or maybe even Danny Ham, the other of the dirt guys. We're going to see Scott Saw a little bit later on. We know he's very, very good on the dirt and in the desert. Rob Jones right now, man, he is using all this track to his advantage. You can see how much of a gap he's made up and then pushed through on that. Jeff Dray, maybe those wet weather tyres may be helping him just a little bit. Back on board now with our race leader Paul CASLICK on this Husqvarna 450. Just had a little bit of a listen to this machine as it gets out of the corner.
Well, he's certainly giving that Dr. Mac engine a real good ringing as he goes down that long back straight now. The veteran Paul CASLICK. Actually, a couple of years ago, 2015, he actually finished third outright in the Troy Bayliss Classic against riders that are probably half his age. So, yeah, he may be in his 40s, but he's certainly got plenty of spirit left there on bike number 3. And at the moment, he's got a pretty handy lead over Rob Jones, Gary Cash and Jeff Dray.
Gary Cash running obviously a little bit warm by the looks of that leathers of his, he's busted a zipper or something on that. So that one's popped open and he is running a massive parachute all the way down that front straight on this bike. So Jeff Dray may see that as a little bit of a motivation to try and get up on the back of him. You can see Dray really is struggling a little bit with rear grip on this thing. See how that one pans out a little bit later on for Gary Cash, but still going very, very strong, and it's not really bothering by the looks of it too much.
You had to work pretty hard to get past Lara Cloak, one of our leading lady riders. And as you can see there, coming through the dirt section, just getting it a little bit wrong over the double jumps. That was the rider on bike number 5, Darren Webb, as you said. Look at Phil Lovett, a desert racing expert. He gets it a little bit cleaner. There's Phil Lovett again by the compulsory orange leathers for Phil Lovett, riding the big 505 KTM. Probably got a little bit of a horsepower advantage over some of the 450 machines, but in the tight sections, the big 505 would require the big frame of Phil Lovett to get around the corner.
Yeah, it's going to take some moving around a big 505 like this. Back on board now with Paul Caslick, using those outside berms to his advantage there. This is a tight little left and then right section through there. Then we go double-double, and he's going to have to pick his way through the lappers here and be very sharp about it. Caslick does the job quite nicely. Starting to form up on the outside. They're getting a little bit of a berm to bounce off towards the back end of that. And then again, Caslick down through this section. He goes left, right. And we hear that Dr. Mac engine. Interesting to note as well, he short shifts as he gets out of here. Obviously the short shifting there, not to let the bike get into the power spot too meaty and then wheel stand it. You hear it with Caslick a little bit later on, and we heard it before. He short shift through the gears and just makes it a little bit easier. Looking at the Luke George line there off the barriers there as well, getting a little bit berm-tastic.
Yeah, it was a great line there from Paul Caslick, but how he was also hold that very tight line through the corners. We've got another one down. That looks like Darren Webb on board his KTM. Looks like he's gone down on the exit of the hard-packed dirt section and into that grassed area.
Yeah, it doesn't look promising for Darren Webb. Not a lot of movement there. We'll keep an eye on that, and no doubt the guys from Suzuki Race Safe will be in attendance rapidly. As we pick up again with Paul Caslick, look, a man of his experience is still having to wrestle this bike through this slick, hard-packed section. We see the yellow flags there for Darren Webb, and obviously Caslick very, very concerned. Has a quick look over. The officials will be there, and as I said, we'll expect Suzuki Race Safe. Rob Jones, we might have made up a little bit of time coming through that. See, we go as Newcastle now replay. We see Webb there to the outside. Just gets a little bit squirrely there. Comes through. Oh, and a bit of an excuse me, please, dished out. So Brad TRIVETT has gotten it in good and deep there, and we'll pick up the other angle. And that's not going to end well at all for Webb. He has gone down. Literally not a lot of movement there. He's definitely got in there pretty hard and hot and heavy, I should say. Here we go on board with TRIVETT now, and we'll pick this one up. He's got a better run through the double-double section here, by the looks of it. And then Webb gets him back on the outside, and that's where you see it. So you'd have to say that TRIVETT probably had to struggle to even see it, and that's not a good sign at all there for Webb. So there is the Suzuki Race Safe. The guys will jump out and they'll attend to him rapidly. We're going to red flag this one. The race has been stopped while we attend to Webb. So race stopped on this one. Fingers crossed we'll get the guys there and they will sort that one out. Well, at this point in time, Paul Caslick was in number 1 from Rob Jones, Gary Cash, Jeff Dre, Phil Lovett. 5th place. What a great ride, Phil.
Yeah, Brad TRIVETT in 6th place. Brian Little, Steve Kopic, Ben Zacher and Fabio Delici rounds out the top 10.
Darren Webb, Warren Moss, Warren Freeland. Then we head down to Keegan Pickering. She's just behind KARINA Bailey in the Battle of the Age. And Stephanie James, Lara Cloak and Jessica BOUJOS wrapping that up.
A lot of good competition out there, but we're going to do what we have to do and get the bike set up, and pretty determined sort of character, and I know I carry a fair lot of fitness as well, so yeah, it was good to come away with a win. Look what Graham brings to the town. You know, this is single-handedly one of the best events that we have here, sporting-wise, you know, in particular for motorbikes. So, mate, hats off to him. You know, fantastic. Like I said, I've been doing this for 42 years, and this is by far one of the best fun events that we've got. You know, everyone gets on great. You know, we're all sportsmen, we're all competitors, but it's all good.
Got first then. That was tough. I could hear it coming, but just being smooth, jumping the jumps as good as I could, having good lines on the road. Seems I haven't ridden on the road before, so it's clean corners and on the throttle.
Don't go too far away. Coming up after the break is the open category of the Newcastle City Supermoto. In only its second year, the Newcastle City Supermoto has attracted a huge number of riders to the event, including many who consider Newcastle to be their own backyard.
I come from, I moved from Bathurst 10, 12 years ago, and everyone up here just rides, you know, and everyone's keen. There's a good community of people that ride, and, you know, that's probably what's kept me interested in it, I suppose, that everyone, you know, it sucks if you're riding on your own or no mates to do it with, so. Jeff Dre, he's a local legend from Mudgee. He actually helps us out with graphics and that for the bike, and then pretty much everyone here is in this area is local. Justin, my mate, is Newcastle. Lee Stevens, Newcastle. Jared Wilson, Newcastle. Roey's Newcastle. Bevo, our mate who broke his leg yesterday in warm-up, was from Newcastle. He's in surgery this morning, so pretty much just a bit of fun, and we all thought we'd come and have a crack. Competition's pretty good. We're lucky that in a Newcastle Open, it's like 4 good mates who finish first, second, third and fourth, and then there's a couple other mates not far behind, so it's always good fun when you can race with your mates. Me and Lee, last year, we raced Fink Desert Race in Alice Springs, and we literally drove back 3,500 kilometres, had one night, built the bikes and come and race last year, so it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing last year, but yeah, we were keen this year, so we're a little bit more organised. There's a sheep station on the line apparently, so I'm going for it. Whoever gets a good start. It's a bit weird. The third position on the grid is probably actually the best position to start from because it's on the inside, and I know Luke George just spoke about it, so he's sort of at a disadvantage every time he lines up because he's always the fastest and he's back to the outside.
He knows his way around here, Scott Saw. He knows his way around the Fink Desert Race, and by the looks of it, we're going to see him in December a little bit later on to finish off this FIM Asia Supermoto Championship. Right now, though, we're going to go with highlights of race number 2, the first race of the day for the open class, and it was Sawler. Got out to a really, really solid start, Phil.
Yeah, he got into the dirt section first, but it wasn't long until the rider on bike number 88, Lee Stevens, got through the corner first. And there goes Mitch Boyd, getting it all wrong, and on the outside had to run over the berm, but he'll get going back in the mid-pack.
Yeah, on a pretty much standard bike by the looks of that one, Mitch Boyd there, and son of the promoter Graham Boyd, obviously very, very strong Newcastle family. And then we saw that, just getting all sorts of angry on the throttle and just getting on it too early. Justin Beard it was, who made a bit of a blunder, and you can see that's caused a bit of a backup in the field there. So the leaders, I'll be pretty happy about that one. Still a little bit of fluid floating out of Beard's bike, but I'd say it's just a little bit of overflow that's come through. Still up and running though. And then we saw that. Looked to me like Paris Corliss-Phil probably got in a little bit deep in that corner, and it's cost him as he stalled the bike.
Yeah, Jared Wilson took full advantage, as does the rest of the field. Corliss has stalled the bike. Look at the amount of riders that have managed to find their way through. This mid-pack battle is sensational, and it's going to get very, very tight, Cam, as they come down into that dirt section. But the battle at the front was between the local man, Scott Saul, who tried desperately to get up the inside. Was lucky, though, he was able to pick the bike up and maintain second position, only just.
Yeah, look, on a motocross track or in the desert in the sand, that may well have stuck, but he just lost front grip, and it was all over there for Scott Saul. But again, done a good job here. He's managed to hold off the 333 there of Jared Wilson and kept him at bay. So did a good job there, Scott Saul, to get it up, hang on to the clutch and keep the thing running.
Yeah, Lee Stevens was out front and didn't have Scott Saul to hassle him as the race came to an end. But as they came across the line, it was Stevens that took the victory over Saul, but the incident right behind in the battle for the final places on the podium.
Yeah, Ryan Taylor and Joel Tuckett, they got together there and they've crashed in a really bad spot on the face of that jump, and you can see one of the guys crawling away there. So Lee Stevens it is who gets it from Scott Saul. Ethan Bailey, Brent Rowe battling his mate Mitch Boyd and got the better of him. Then Jared Wilson, Paris Corliss managed to get it going again. John Bartley it is that rounded out the 10.
We're getting ready now for race number 3 in the open category, and Lee Stevens will start from pole position courtesy of that sensational victory in race number 2. And Cam, if the race is half as good as that second race, we're in for an absolute cracker. The big crowd is starting to really gather now and get ready for this final race for the open category. And we'll look back through the field because there were some great battles, not only at the front but all the way back through the field as well.
Yeah, Brad Trivet had his excursion a little bit earlier on that one, and we got a good start here. Looks like Scott Saul's got a good one, and a 333 of Jared Wilson got out pretty well as well. But it's Saul it is who's going to get through the corner and get the hole shot. Now that's Brent Rowe on the 73 who's got a very, very good start. As we see these guys, they're on the ground at the back there. So for 224 and the 88, both those guys get these bikes up and running. We're on board with Brad Trivet now. Looks like he may well have been tangled up in that one as well on the Husky 450.
Yeah, looked like Lee Stevens on bike number 88. Our race 2 victor was one of the riders involved in that first turn incident. He won't be winning race number 3 as this field now battles Paris Corliss on the 111 machine. He was also out very wide as they turned left into the dirt section for the first time and has done well, Cam, to recover.
He has done reasonably well there. He's going to pay the price though at this point in time. Oh, we've got a rider with an arm up there. That's Nick Osborne. Yeah, Paris Corliss is in a bit of trouble now. Brad Trivet, he's also got his own issue as well on that Husky 450, and we're seeing him double back around. So interesting to see what's happened there to Brad Trivet. But to be a tough one. Good to see Mitch Boyd there as well on that machine, fresh out of Graham Boyd Motorcycles. Thing is still running a tail light on the back of that 93 machine. Well, it looks at it, there it is. At least you know when he's going to break, I suppose. He's not going to sneak up on him. Race leader at the moment, though, is Scott Saul. He's doing a very, very solid job. He's out in front of Brent Rowe, and then it is Jared Wilson, who's just about on the back of that battle. And then we're going to throw Boyd into that mix as well. So these four look to me like they've skipped away a little bit at this point in time from the rest of the pack, and it really does show that on this particular course you really need to be through that first corner in the first four or so to avoid that mid-pack madness.
Yeah, Mitch Boyd, you wouldn't think he's having his first ever Supermoto outing this weekend, the way he's been riding so far. As we go back and watch the Newcastle Now replay as they come down through the first corner, as you can see, there's Paris Corliss getting it extremely wide and did well to recover, but there's that first lap incident, and bike number 88, our first race victor, Lee Stevens, involved in that melee at turn 1.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? You just get a little bit angry on the break, and we're going to pick it up from Brad Trivett's point of view here as well. Saul got a flyer, and Trivett looked to me like he missed the jump, and he's just been buried in the pack. And there is Stevens has got hooked up actually on another bike and essentially caused a roadblock by the looks of it. It looks like those bars have ended up in a foot peg or something by the looks of that in the 88, and that's going to be a painful one. Unfortunately, that's racing though, as we say, that Newcastle Now replay. So this is exactly how that went down on the start. Look at these great slow-mo shots of Saul and Brent Rowe. You can see these guys. There's the first 5 riders through. It seems so far that anyone on that top 5 really has gone on to either dominate or put the bike on the podium. So back to racing now with Scott Stall still in the lead. And again, these 4 guys, Phil, there's less than maybe a second and a half in it. Looks to me like Saul has just eked out a little bit of a lead here as we watch Mitch Boyd trying to work these berms and try and make something happen for himself.
Yeah, he's trying to find his way past Jared Wilson on the 333 machine. Looks like he got that first jump a little bit wrong. He's lost a couple of bike lengths as well. So Wilson has got a fraction of breathing room as they make their way out onto the tarmac. Oh, I tell you what, talk about some spectacular action there from Mitch Boyd on board the RMX machine on bike number 93 down through the car park now. This is the run down towards the bottom of the circuit. And you can see there, he's got a couple of bike lengths to make up. He was right on the back of the 333 machine there a couple of minutes ago, and now he's trying to fight his way back into position to really challenge for that podium.
Yeah, it looks to me like Mitch Boyd probably just needs to tone it down a smidge at the moment. He's getting a little bit aggressive on the throttle, and it really doesn't pay, especially through those dirt sections. And as we lead into this section here, where braking is a key and being very, very patient with your throttle, getting through here is going to be the key. And Mitch Boyd, as I said, just to tone it down a little bit, and I think you'll find up that second and a half that he's lost before, because what I have seen so far is he's very, very good in the dirt. The 333 of Jared Wilson, he looks to me as we're at mid-race point now, like he's getting a stalk on. He's just got a little bit of a stalk. He's had a good long look, so watch for Jared Wilson to work his way forward a little bit later on. He's got a good battle here going with Brent Rowe, but at this point, this one I'd have to say is Scott Saul's race to lose.
Yeah, he's got a pretty handy lead at the moment as they come down into the car park once again. We're about half race distance. Bike number 124 has gone down hard. Looks like on the dirt section. He's got the bike trapped on top of his leg. That's going to stop him getting straight up. Let's hope the rest of the competitors streaming through can get around that rider stricken on the first of the jumps there.
Yeah, Hayden Schubert is that one, and he's just got himself in an awkward position there and probably tried to get to the inside a little bit too early, and we've tucked the front or just lost grip on the inside there. Got that machine going, we'll just straighten the bars, and away we go again. So back to the front now with Brent Rowe, and he's still in that battle with Jared Wilson. Another 4 laps to go at the end of this one, and we're going to see this dirt section getting more and more treacherous as it starts to break up. Good drive out of there. He's got great timing on that one, Brent Rowe.
Yeah, we're talking about the tyre combinations and that too, Cam, and a lot of the riders, as we said, running the full wet combination front and rear. You can see that Hayden Schubert on board the 124 machine that went down had road racing super sport looking tyres, both front and rear on board his machine as he crashed. As we go back to Schubert now on board 124, and you can see with those super sport tyres he would have just lost traction and the front tucked under, and there was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, probably great on the track, as you said, for edge group, but in this sort of thing there's not a lot of edge group, obviously, with it being so slick and so greasy out there. And having a bit of fun there, Hayden Schubert on that Newcastle Now replay, just trying to get that machine going, and then we're going to just get those bars back to where we need them before we move it on. And he's not in a dangerous position there, so it's not so bad. If he was on the outside, they'd probably shuffle him off, but looks to me like he's going to be all right and get that thing straightened out and keep moving. We pick up Saul now. There's a good battle. Looks like Brent Rowe has got Jared Wilson. I thought Jared Wilson was maybe holding back a little bit. You see now he's starting to put all sorts of pressure onto Brent Rowe, try and make it up that gap to Scott Saul out in front.
Yeah, a bit of a battle here at the front. Looks like Saul on board a Honda. Then we've got a couple of Suzukis in that battle as well. With Mitch Boyd, you see him getting it all sideways and crossed up out of the or into the car park section there. Runs a very tight line as they come onto the straight down the foreshore. But at the moment, 73 machine of Brent Rowe just doing enough to hold off Wilson on board the 333 machine, and they come back down into the dirt section. Only a couple of laps to go now. I think Wilson's going to have to seriously try and find his way past the 73 if he wants to take up that second position.
Yeah, it looks like he's very comfortable on the dirt the way he scrubbed that finish line jump there, Wilson. So he's going to have to shoulder up at some point and make the pass happen. And there it is. He's used a bit of lap traffic. That's Scott Saul. Scott Saul stalled the machine. Oh, that's heartbreak for Saul at this point in the race. He stalled the machine, and Jared Wilson's used that to his advantage. And I'd say Jared Wilson snuck on by and got himself into the lead. All the while, Mitch Boyd has been riding reasonably consistent. He's now found himself in third place, and Scott Saul's gone from the lead into fourth place in pretty much a heartbeat and a stall. He will be unhappy, to say the least, Scott Saul.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Wilson got past at exactly the right time, because then he was able to take advantage of Saul's misdemeanour. And look at the lead he's got now as they come down the back straight. Big shout out to the rider on bike number 300, Daniel Bowden. Looks like he's got the standard rims on that Yamaha WR and doing a great job out here against the riders with those very trick 17 and 18 inch rims.
Yeah, definitely doing a good job. It would be a proper handful. He's still got the headlight. Looks like he could well have ridden that WR to this race and then just taped those things up. Now watching Saul get to the work on the back here of Mitch Boyd to see if he can make something happen. He stalled through here last time. There's that brake light on Boyd's machine, still flashing away there. Second to last lap now for these guys.
You can see, you can see actually Boyd took a different line completely through those corners, trying to find his way past Brent Rowe on 73, and I think Saul may have even caught right up onto the back of him now as well.
Yeah, sometimes it can work looking for a different line, and other times maybe it's just discretion's a better part of valor, where you're better off to follow and try and make a mistake happen, or push a mistake, or muscle up and get through there. And that's what Saul's going to have to do this time if he wants to get himself onto the podium.
Yeah, Stephen Robinson there on bike number 86, just going one lap down as our trio of riders that are battling for the top three positions come through and out of the chicane back into the dirt section. This should be the start of the last lap now, as Jared Wilson comes over, gets the last lap board on the 333 machine. He's got a pretty handy lead, probably in fact equal to the lead that Scott Saul had tipping into this dirt section only about 2 or 3 laps ago, Ken.
Yeah, and he just looks very, very comfortable on this dirt section. Just Jared Wilson to mind. He just very, very at ease, and you can see now he's nice and relaxed. Different body language altogether on Brent Rowe, and you can see Scott Saul. He is climbing all over the back of Boyd. We've got a rider gone down, just about to greet the last lap board. That's the 111 has gone down at Paris Corliss again. Bit of a forgettable day there for Paris Corliss. A bit unfortunate on that one.
Yeah, Ryan Taylor on 52 coming through as well. Look at this battle. Saul's got back ahead of Mitch Boyd, so Boyd's gone back to 4th place in this battle, but look at the rider on bike number 93. He's not done with yet as he come up along the foreshore drive. I think he's going to have to put on a pretty late braking manoeuvre to try and find his way back past Saul, who looks extremely determined to make up for that small error. But it's Jared Wilson that takes the victory on board the 333 machine and celebrates in style.
Nice ride there from Jared Wilson. Brent Rowe gets second and Scott Saul gets third. Solid ride there from Mitch Boyd. Really pushed them all the way. There it is official. Jared Wilson gets the win from Brent Rowe. Scott Saul in third. Mitch Boyd in fourth. Lee Stevens rounding out the 5. Paris Corliss. Tough day at the office for him. He's ended up in 8th. Jason Morris rounding up at 10.
It was good fun battling with all my mates and that. So a few little injuries to take back to work for the boss, but other than that, it was all good. Coming off the tar onto the dirt, lost the front end and had to stand it up, clipped the barrier on the way through. So that's all part of it. Maybe a couple little broken toes, but nothing too major. Actually, all my best mates that we're racing with, so it's good to get one on them.
Well, don't go too far away. Coming up after the break, the big boys of the Newcastle City Supermoto Pro Class hit the track. Paul KASLICK has been around bikes his whole life with his dad Bob, a prolific speedway racer in the 70s and 80s. This weekend, he brings a whole lot of his own experience to the track.
My dad was Bob KASLICK, as everyone knows him, but I think my dad probably had more bad luck at times where he needed it, but he was just a pure racer. You know, he was a pure racer without management. He was a coal miner and a hard worker, but loved riding a motorbike. That's all Dad loved doing, loved riding a motorbike. He won a New South Wales Speedway Sidecar Championship in 1975, at a time where it was at its peak, where all the riders from all around the nation went to Sydney Showground at that time, and I remember the race vividly as a kid, and he decimated him, absolutely decimated him, and he just had some terrible bad luck. You know, but he's my hero. I've been doing it now for 42 years. Started when I was 7 years old. Grew up at the Sydney Showground and watching my dad and all the old speedway riders of Australia, and from there was probably a natural progression that, you know, I'm told my first noises were that of a motorbike noise, and from there just wanted to probably emulate what my dad did, and he gave me some fantastic opportunities. And we came down this morning and we had my teammate's dad. My teammate can't ride, he punctured an elbow at the Australian titles, and he can't ride at the meeting, so Father's Day and Scott's, you know, generously changed tyres for me this morning and did oil changes on the bike and changed air filters, so it gave us, where he lives, it gave us that opportunity to then drive down the coastline of Newcastle, and there's no better place than this for a motorbike event. Like, have a look at it, it's glorious. What a spot, what a spot. I think at the end of the day, I love what I do. I love the people, I love the friendships I've made here. I've made a lot of good friends at the races. I've made a lot of rivals as well at the same time, but I don't think now at my age I'm looked upon as being a major threat to a lot of the riders until I get on the track and they think, you know, this old bastard can still ride a motorbike. But I think the friends, you know, the friends, and it's good fun. It's good fun out there. When you put a helmet on, you're in a world of your own, you know, and you can go out and show who you are and express yourself as an individual.
And he is a proper individual, Paul CASLICK. He's been around a while and knows exactly what's going on. What a legend of a day we've got here, Phil. Couldn't be happier. There's people out on the water enjoying the action. There's people in the crowd enjoying the action. Oh, Watson Demolition, Newcastle Supermoto. What a spectacular day. Race 2 in the Newcastle Pro. Talk us through this one, Phil, to start.
Yeah, highlights of race number 2 as they blast away down to the turn into the dirt section. One of the cleanest starts we've seen, only a few little bumps and barges, but it was the 217 machine of Andy McLeish that got through the dirt section first, and Luke George, who we saw some great pace from through the dirt section yesterday, left with a little bit of work to do running in second.
Scott Saul, the man we just saw in the previous race in a raging battle, he's found himself in third, so another good start there from Saul. And then, as you'd expect, a little bit of mid-pack madness ensues when they're all stacked up like this, and it's a little bit slick and greasy. That was a number 10 at Cameron Rock, and unfortunately for Cameron Rock, he goes all the way to the back. This was a good battle early between Luke George and Andy McLeish. Now watch Luke George use his dirt skills here. Just goes to the inside, takes the line away, says thank you very much, and away he goes. Now, we've been talking quite a bit about these tyres, Phil. Just talk us through that Luke George tyre. Looks like it's got a cut in that slick.
Yeah, it's a cut slick with directional grooves going across ways, just to give him a little bit extra drive grip as we go back on board now. I think this is with Danny Ham through the dirt section. And look at the dirt skills there coming to the fore as they make their way through that very tricky dirt section. And there's Paul CASLICK on board bike number 3. We saw him in the veterans category. We said that he is always competing against guys half his age. Well, he's doing a great job here in this class.
Danny Ham has clipped the back wheel of the rider in front of him. I'm not quite sure it is. He's clipped the front wheel and done very, very well to keep it up there, Danny Ham. But he's shed a bunch of positions, and I dare say he's probably misaligned his bars. A little bit later on in this one, wow, that got all sorts of nasty. A little bit too angry on the throttle there, Corey Turner, and that's cost Paul CASLICK a bunch of positions, and his handlebars are all out of shape. Turner, we saw him do it the other day, but this one was all about Luke George yet again. He's had a weekend, Luke George. He gets the win in race number 2.
Yeah, coming across the line behind him was Andy McLeish, doing a very good job on board his Husqvarna to take out second position. Scott Stall come back from the open class to finish third in the pro. Great job. And Al Phillips on board bike number 48 finished in 4th.
Michael Kirkness on the borrowed machine there in 5th. Danny Ham in 6th. Then we work our way down to Bo Beaton, a name you and I are very familiar with, Phil, and Ian Hamilton rounding up the 10th.
Well, those highlights of race number 2 have set us up perfectly for the final race in the Newcastle Pro category. Race number 3 about to get underway, Cam. The foreshore looks spectacular, and the racing in the pro class has been very, very tight. Luke George is certainly the man to beat. He will start from pole position once again. Let's go back in the field and jump on board with Paul CASLICK for the start of race number 3.
This is going to be hectic. He's 2 rows on the 3rd row here, Paul CASLICK, and we've seen that you need to be out in that first 4. George to the outside. Oh, a bit of a jump there. CASLICK might have got a bit of a sneaky one, and Andy McLeish trying to get across in front of Luke George and sweep that line away from him. Didn't quite work out there. Solid start, though, for the number 48 of Alex Phillips. He got a good one as well. He gets out in 3rd. Saul it is in 4th, then Danny Ham rounding out the 5. Oh, there's Paul CASLICK, and that's Phyllis who's gone down early. So a dose of commentator's curse on the first lap for Alex Phyllis.
Yeah, Scott Saul's got a very good start as well on board the 99 machine. He's up into about 3rd position. Kirkness right behind as they make their way through this very grassy section now and out onto the tarmac where it's very, very slippery there as they come off the dirt section. Saul has got away very well. Danny Ham right behind. Oh, the 48 machine getting it all sideways as they come out of the thing. But it's Luke George on the 101 Jerky Co machine that leads as they come through the car park for the first time.
Yeah, if they let Luke George get away, it's just going to be a Luke George parade like we've seen so far this weekend. The 101 coaching machine on the 100% jerky. Now Danny Ham starting to apply some pressure out of the back of a 99 machine. Oh, and he's doing the Luke George. He's bounced off that barrier and used it. We haven't seen anyone able to make a pass as we look back from Ham at Michael Kirkness there. And again, that inside line just not working off the bitumen. Now Ham moving forward and starting to apply some pressure to the 99 of Scott Saul and Kirkness all over the back, trying a different line through that dirt section. And you can see there Ham doing a very, very solid job.
Well, you're saying that Danny Ham hasn't been competing for a while, but he's obviously got a fair amount of bike fitness because he's doing a great job at the moment to maintain this position as he really battles hard. Look how close that racing action is as we go back on board to the start. Well, Paul CASLICK's always been known to be a great starter, and he was lightning off the line once again.
Wow, he didn't mess around there, Paul CASLICK. You'd have to say the officials need to have a look at that. And Andy McLeish, he tried to get across on Luke George to sweep that line off. There's CASLICK going around the outside. Danny Ham just getting unsettled a little bit by the gutter on the left-hand side, so he's gone in there just before. Now there's the 48 of Phyllis goes down, and CASLICK gets a look at that one and runs a little bit wide. So tough start for Phyllis. Now Danny Ham starting to get to work on the back of a number 99 of Scott Saul, and he's also got Kirkness in attention. As I said, they've borrowed that bike from Andy McLeish to get Kirkness through today. So great sportsmanship there, and this is a good battle raging for second place at the moment.
Yeah, I was just trying to have a look at the tyres. Looks like most of those guys have got a road racing wet front tyre on just to give them that little bit of extra grip through the dirt section where we head back into now. Saul's doing a great job as they come over the jumps. Danny Ham trying to use all of his motocross and supercross experience and gets around the outside. That's great style from Danny Ham. Takes the lead now in this 3-bike battle. A lot of battling for that last place on the podium in 3rd.
Good move there from Danny Ham. You can see that he just got a better drive out of that turn previous, and generally most of his guys will be looking to the inside to try for a block pass, but Ham has gone a long way around on Scott Saul and he's made it work. I'd say Saul was in turn looking for the inside line, and Ham has used all his wit and guile to get around the outside. Oh, Saul with all sorts of bike control just in front of Kirkness there. Very, very good job to back it in and get through those corners. As I was saying, Danny Ham, he's ridden a motorcycle or two in his time, and there's plenty of wit and guile inside that helmet. Danny Ham knows how to make a pass, especially on Craig Anderson back in the day.
Well, Scott Saul had to be really happy with his performance so far to be hanging around with these guys, Danny Ham and also Michael Kirkness, who are great pedigree in this style of racing. And Saul certainly won't be overawed by the view. He works on the coal loader down here. He has to look at this every day.
Yeah, what a spectacular place to come to work every day. Don't discount Scott Saul's skill. The guy has, I think, top 20 in Fink the year before last. Had a bit of a tough year this year out of Fink with a bit of an injury. But he can definitely ride a dirt bike, and as you said, he's not going to be overawed by the names of Danny Ham or the 387 and Michael Kirkness. I have to say now, though, the Hammy has really pulled out a gap. Thinking maybe Saul may have been a bit of a roadblock there as he pick up it on board again with the 99. He's got a good battle going on here, though, with Michael Kirkness. Doing a good job to hold Kirkness at bay. This guy has won the Troy Bayliss Classic. He's a very, very accomplished flat tracker. Will race anything, long track, flat track, and we're seeing him doing a very, very good job as we reach, I should say, the midway point of this race.
Well, down into the dirt section goes Danny Ham, turns right, turns left, goes over the start-finish line through these jumps. And he has pulled a nice lead on Scott Saul and the 387 machine of Michael Kirkness. Kirkness is just trying to find a way past, but can't get past the 99 machine of Saul, who's making his bike incredibly wide as they come out of that dirt section. In fact, he may have even pulled a bike length or two on Kirkness as they come across the jumps and back into the grass section.
That's the way to go, isn't it? Run that 450 wide as you can. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Luke George, the 101, he is gone out in the front. Second place at this point is Andrew McLeish, and we're watching the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th at this point in time. Danny Ham is a man who's holding down 3rd for Scott Saul in the 99, and the 387 there, as we keep saying, of course, is Michael Kirkness, and these guys are locked and loaded at battle. Now Kirkness trying to get to the inside of Saul. He got a really good drive out of that corner, but he's not quite close enough for Saul. Plenty of power down that straight. He's a little bit of a smaller man, Scott Saul. And again, we're looking to the inside here. keep saying it, that inside line though is just not working for anyone into that corner.
Yeah, it also squares off the corner a lot. Getting that really tight line means that his drive would be somewhat compromised as they come out into the dirt section now. Kirkness has a bit of a look up the inside. Saul's not scared to get it up onto the high part of the berm and get the tail out. And Kirkness, I think, had to get out of the throttle there fractionally, Cam, and that's cost him a fair bit of drive as they come through this grass section now. And Saul is doing a great job to hold off Kirkness. And Andy McLeish on board 217 is doing a great job to hold off Danny Ham on board the 111 machine as well. And as we mentioned, Andy McLeish, one of the 2 Australian riders doing the whole season at the FIM Asia Supermoto Championship.
Yeah, he's got himself a good haul of points. We saw in the FIM Asia to start that championship as well. Andy McLeish, so it'll be interesting to see how the prospect from Proserpine, the beautiful gateway to the Whitsundays, does in this entire series. As I said earlier, Scott Saul looking for some support to do the last round in December, looking to head over to KL and do that last round. And at the moment, he's doing a very, very good job on the man who we say is a very accomplished flat tracker in Michael Kirkness. 8 laps down now out of 10. Very strong at the moment, Scott Saul.
Well, this is where the real interest is, because the top 3 have all started to get away from this battle, and the top 5 are covered by not much at all. Let's go back to our race leader now, Luke George, who has been a picture of consistency so far this weekend, as well as being blindingly fast in his style through this section. Let's see if he uses the barriers as a berm. He does once again, although not quite as high as we've seen him sometimes.
Yeah, he's such an accomplished rider, this kid, 2008 Australian MX2 champion. Obviously that nasty accident, we saw him come back. He pretty much had a deal to ride for Mitch Payton's Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. He raced here in Australia for that year and then had a bit of an incident at Supercross and decided that racing wasn't his thing, and he's going to go back to coaching now as we go on board with the 217 of Andy McLeish. And he's doing very, very well here when you consider the company that he's keeping up there with Luke George. Very impressed by the way this guy's riding. I have to say, he's going to be a threat for the overall FIM Asia Championship. Oh, there's that move being made. Michael Kirkness has forced the move on Scott Saul. He's gotten to the inside and elbowed up and made it happen.
Yeah, he used Cameron Rock there as a bit of a berm as well, both of them, and poor old Cameron Rock just got shoved out of the way as both Saul and Kirkness disputed that 3rd position. And I think Kirkness has managed to get away a little bit as well and put a nice buffer between himself and Scott Saul, who's had to try and find his way past the 38 machine of Christopher Grigg. And Kirkness now has got a very comfortable lead with only a lap and a half to go.
Oh, Christopher Grigg, a little bit angry on that one. Get a look at this great shot here. We saw this earlier with Kirkness straightening up the line and trying to square off that corner. It just doesn't seem to work, does it, Phil? There we go again. That good battle going on there between Kirkness and Saul. These guys have been very, very... I have to say, clean racing. Obviously, sometimes you need to make that pass happen. And he's got the job done. But back to the front, this 101 jerky machine. Luke George coaching. One of the nicest kids from a great family here in Newcastle. He and his brother Benny done a lot of racing. Both those guys no longer racing. I think Benny now pursuing a career in real estate. But Luke George, it has been the Luke George show this weekend, Phil, hasn't it?
Yeah, he gets the last lap board. Andy McLeish does likewise. They're both on their last tour of the sensational Supermoto track here on the foreshore of Newcastle. And McLeish has got a pretty safe 2nd position wrapped up now. All he's got to do is ride over these jumps and get back around to the finish to take good solid points in the pro class through that very bumpy and tricky grassy section and back out into the section that leads down towards the bottom of the circuit here. Lots of twists and turns, but this man has been in a class of his own at the moment. Luke George on the 101 machine, round through, uses the barriers as a berm for the final time, leg out and celebrates in style.
Fantastic ride here from Luke George. We've said it all already on the J. Foreman prepared machine, doing it for 101 Jerky Co. He has been spectacular on his turn to racing, Luke George. What he's used to doing, we've seen him do it a lot in his motocross days, and yet another win for Luke George on the 101 machine. Looks like he might have backed it down towards the end of 217 of Andy McLeish. He's had a solid ride to lock up 2nd place.
Yeah, can Michael Kirkness hang on? No, it was Danny Ham, that took that 3rd position from Michael Kirkness. Scott Saul in 5th position, a great ride. Corey Turner on the 52 up to 6th position. CASLICK, Peacock, Grigg and Cameron Rock round out the top 10.
Always try my best and don't like coming second. So yeah, first was really good and had an awesome weekend and very thankful for the Newcastle crowd to come out. One of my best races I've ever done in my whole life, and I've raced all over the world and my whole life pretty well. But yeah, this is probably tops at nearly out of all of them.
He's very happy and very understated, Luke George. And why wouldn't he be? 3 from 3 this weekend. He has been sensational. What an amazing race we've been fortunate enough to witness here, Phil. I couldn't be any happier than what we've managed to see this weekend.
Yeah, massive thanks to Destination New South Wales, Watson Demolition, of course, Graham Boyd for putting the great show on, Newcastle Now, and all the other sponsors that have made this happen. Can't wait for next year, the 2nd and 3rd of September. We'll be back on the Newcastle Foreshore.